Welcome back, everyone. If you're a focused learner trying to cut through the noise and genuinely grasp the fundamentals of Zen meditation, well, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're breaking down a beautifully grounded guide to Zazen. That's the traditional practice of Zen sitting. We're going to strip away all that mystique, look at the actual mechanics, and make this incredibly accessible. Okay, let's dive into this.
When you hear the word Zen, I'm guessing a lot of you instantly picture something like this. You know, a line of people sitting in this terrifying absolute silence while a very strict monk paces behind them with a wooden stick, just waiting to strike if they slouch even a little bit. Now, that stick is actually called a kiyosaku, and sure, while it does exist in some traditions, it's totally hijacked our popular image of what Zen actually is. So today, I promise to show you what this practice really looks and feels like for a beginner. And spoiler alert, it is a whole lot more gentle than you probably think.
To really start off right, we need to redefine our terms. Zen is literally just the name given to the mind or to your true self. Because of that, Zazen isn't some complex, magical ritual. It's simply the practice of facing that true self. And you do this not by, rigidly boxing your thoughts up and throwing away the key, but by gently harmonizing them. It's really about looking inward, not about turning into a perfect, unmoving statue.
So here's the roadmap for our explainer today. First, Zen beyond the stereotypes. Second, regulating your posture. Third, regulating your breath. Fourth, regulating your mind. And finally, the punctuation of life. Let's look at this core rule of three from our source material: posture, breath, and mind. Now, the Japanese word used here for regulating is absolutely crucial to understand. It doesn't mean organizing in the sense of tightly packing things into a rigid square box. Actually, scratch that. It's more like shaping a traditional Japanese mochi. You're smoothing it out so it's perfectly round, even, and soft. That's exactly what we're doing here. We are gently smoothing out our posture, our breath, and our mind.
Let's start with Pillar 1, regulating your posture.
Everything starts with the physical body. Building a stable physical foundation is your absolute starting point. Now take a look at the traditional full lotus posture, where each foot is placed on the opposite thigh. Historically, this is how the Buddha sat when he attained enlightenment, and it creates this rock-solid three-point foundation with the knees and the tailbone. But let's be real for a second. For most of us, that is incredibly difficult and honestly pretty painful. So check out the chair setup instead. Using a chair is a perfectly valid, heavily encouraged alternative. If you do use a chair, just ensure your feet are planted perfectly flat on the floor to create that stability, and keep your back about a fist's width away from the backrest. You want your lower body firmly anchored and your upper body just effortlessly balancing right on top of it.
So, the crucial point is, once your base is stable, you stretch your spine up, kind of imagine being gently pulled up from the top of your head by a string, and then just relax. Next up, your hands. You want to form a perfect oval with your fingers near your navel, thumbs barely touching. This shape is actually a mirror of your mind. If the oval collapses, well, your focus is collapsing. After that, tuck your chin slightly. And here is a highly counterintuitive instruction: do not close your eyes. Keep your eyes half open, casting your gaze about 1.5 meters ahead of you on the floor. If you close your eyes, you're either going to start overthinking or you'll literally fall asleep. So keep them half open, gently taking in a wide, unfocused view.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, regulating your breath. Once that physical structure is set and your body is comfortably anchored, your focus naturally transitions right to the breath. Our source introduces a foundational Zen technique called Susokukan. It literally translates to observing and counting the breath. It's brilliantly simple, yet honestly incredibly challenging. Your mental task is to quietly count each exhale in your head. 1, 2, all the way up to 10. And once you hit 10, you go right back to 1. This perfectly illustrates the rhythm of Susokukan. In Zen, the heavy emphasis is entirely on the exhale. You want to spend about 7 to 10 seconds slowly, deliberately pushing all the air out of your body, right down to the very last drop. Once your lungs are completely empty, you don't need to force the inhale at all. From seconds 10 to 13, you just naturally let clean air fill you back up. You focus entirely on the out-breath, attaching your mental count of 1, then 2, to that long, smooth exhale.
Which brings us to Pillar 3, regulating your mind. As you try this breathing rhythm, you're almost immediately going to run into a wall. You're probably not going to make it to 10 on your first try, and that's okay. Around count 4 or 5, your mind is definitely going to wander. You'll think, oh man, I'm hungry, or you'll hear a car outside, or you'll wonder, wait, did I leave the stove on? That is just the universal reality of being human. But when that happens, look at this incredibly comforting advice from the monk. Gently place the thought next to you. Do not fight those wandering thoughts. Do not get angry at yourself. You simply warmly acknowledge the thought, sort of put it beside you on the floor, and calmly return your focus to counting from 1. Over time, as you practice this, the counting itself will actually fall away, leaving absolutely nothing but pure, uncalculated breathing.
And finally, Section 5, the punctuation of life.
All of these practical steps, the posture, the breathing, the gentle resetting of the mind, they all build toward a profound, completely paradigm-shifting philosophy. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how jarring it is to our modern sensibilities. We are so obsessed with life hacks and ROI, right? People come to meditation wanting superpowers. They want better focus, they want stress relief, they want next-level business inspiration. But the foundational premise of Zen is that by practicing Zazen, you will gain absolutely nothing. It is a time completely devoid of reward. You aren't gaining something, you are letting go.
To explain why doing nothing is actually so vital, let's compare these two ideas. Imagine a massive run-on sentence, just a huge, overwhelming block of words with zero punctuation. That is exactly how most of us live our lives, running constantly from work to our phones to our chores without taking a single break. Now imagine a beautifully structured paragraph. What makes it readable? Commas and periods. Now, a comma or a period on its own has absolutely no meaning, right? It gives you no new information. But by placing those meaningless marks into a sentence, the entire text becomes readable, rich, and deeply meaningful. Zazen is literally the punctuation mark in the sentence of your life.
10. That right there is the magic number. The source material suggests that spending just 10 minutes a day in this state of gaining nothing, acting as a simple period or comma in your schedule, fundamentally enriches the other 23 hours and 50 minutes of your day. The time you spend chasing your goals, working, and loving your family becomes infinitely more clear and vibrant simply because you took the time to insert a pause.
Which leaves us with this final thought. You don't need a strict monk, you don't need a wooden stick, and you sure don't even need to sit in some painful pretzel shape. You just need a chair, your breath, and a real willingness to gain absolutely nothing for just a few minutes. So, I have to ask, are you ready to add a period to your day? Try it out, let your mind smooth out like that Japanese mochi, and just see how the rest of your sentence reads. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, focused learners. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you on the next one.